Moalem of Syria, I think a person of great dignity, proposed this week to the United States. He said essentially that Syria is ready and willing to cooperate with all states, all governments against ISIS terrorism. At the same time, Syria demands that there be coordination, right? That it's not a solo intervention. You can't just start bombing Syria. You can't just start sending U-2s and so forth. You've got to coordinate, right? What I've been saying the whole time. Coordinate with Assad. Remember, any national state, with a couple of exceptions, Qatar maybe, Israel, whatever, anybody can be your ally, potentially, against these non-state actors, right? The forces of chaos, the CIA secret armies. Now, I'm saying the only way to do this, if you really think that ISIS is the end of the world, you've got to ally with Assad. You shouldn't have wasted all that time on Maliki. You should have been bombing. There is an attempt to blame ISIS on Assad. Well, dear NATO devotees, you got to remember that ISIS was trained in those U.S., British, French NATO camps in Jordan and funded by the Saudis through Abdul Rahman Faisal, brother of the foreign minister, Prince Faisal, and Turki al-Faisal, the ambassador here in Washington at one point. And that's who created ISIS. And if you don't believe it, there's even a photograph. Congratulations once again to Thierry Masson of the Voltaire Network for that picture, which shows the visit by Mad Dog McCain to Idlib, Syria in April 2013. It's a confab with terrorists. It's supposedly the military council of the Free Syrian Army. General Idris is sitting there, and then this other guy who soon became Baghdadi, or who already was Baghdadi of ISIS, and this is now Caliph Ibrahim. Why is McCain still at large, becomes the question. Why has he not been indicted under any number of provisions, one of them material support for terrorism? And if little Rand Paul wants to complain about what Obama's doing in Syria, fine, there's much to fault. Why don't you clean up your own Republican Senate caucus, little Rand? Why don't you walk across your Republican Senate caucus and tell McCain, stop consorting with terrorists? Now, there's a half-hearted, mealy-mouthed attempt by McCain to answer this in the Arizona Republic, but it gets us nowhere. We haven't got time for it. It says nothing. There's got to be coordination. And Obama should take careful note. If there's no coordination by the United States with Syria, maybe it would be a good idea for Syria to invite in Russia. If Iraq can invite in the United States to bomb ISIS, surely Syria could invite in Russia. And this idea has also floated around. President Hollande of France, according to some reports, has been taken to a psychiatric clinic after his statement that Assad is objectively the ally of ISIS, and that France refuses to choose between Assad and ISIS. Too bad. That's exactly the choice you have. We've even got Fabius getting into the act on precisely this stupid thing. And this is the government, which is obviously in chaos. We'll try to talk about the austerity implications of that. So we've got the caliph now. And of course, the U.S. propaganda is attempting. The U.S. propaganda is now a debate whether ISIS is 10 feet tall or whether they're only 9 feet tall. They're capable. Their prowess, as the Pentagon boss there, Hagel said, their prowess, it's so overwhelming. These people could be gotten rid of. Two things. Ultimatum to Saudi Arabia, Qatar, all members of the Gulf Cooperation Council, stop all material support, money, arms, and the rest. And Turkey, what's with Turkey? They have a huge army. They could clobber ISIS. They could go into northern Syria. They've done it before. Go in there, clobber ISIS, close that border at the very least, Erdogan. Sorry, they don't like to do it. So, interestingly enough, we've also got in Libya, jets from Egypt and the United Arab Emirates have bombed Ansar al-Sharia. Now, Ansar al-Sharia is the group that killed Ambassador Stevens. This is Kumu. Remember Kumu, the Guantanamo Bay graduate, right? They're the ones who actually did the killing, not this little schmuck that they arrested. So, as the Washington Post had to admit here on Friday, today, this is now a U.S. official speaking off the record. In Syria, you have many actors, many moving pieces. There is not a coherent U.S. policy. I've just given one. The official said, countries the United States considers counterterrorism partners are broadly divided into two camps, with Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt and Jordan on the one side, and Qatar and Turkey on the other. With Qatar and Turkey, you better mention Hamas, which they use against Egypt. But now the message is, if Egypt and the UAE can bomb a target, a Qatari puppet in Libya, right, Ansar, then maybe they'll bomb Qatar itself, bomb Doha. This has now been ventilated in various international media. Remember, the U.S. plan was to play Sunni against Shiite, and instead the Sunnis are now split into two camps, what we just said. And this is mirrored inside Libya. You can see it there, too. In Tripoli, it's the Zintan militia against the Mizurata militia. And over there in the Derna, Tobruk, Benghazi axis, it's Khalifa Hiftar of the CIA against Ansar al-Sharia. They were the ones that got bombed. So, cut off.